Right then, welcome back to the channel. This is how to fix Manchester United and how to win the league by 2035. In the last episode, I looked at the realities of the financial constraints that exist in Manchester United and some of the ways that United can fix that. Short and long answer is the debt. In this episode, I'm going to look at Rúben Amorim and I'm going to look at his struggles and whether or not he's the right man and maybe what can be done about it. Now, when United appointed Amorim as manager, it signalled a bold new direction. Young Portuguese coach made his name at Sporting, arrived with a real growing reputation for tactical innovation. He's got this trademark 3-4-3 system, and he's known for developing young players. A lot of boxes ticked. Fans hoped he could be United's version of a young Pep or a young Jose Mourinho. Fresh ideas, fresh young manager, on the rise. He's got his own sort of innovation going on. But so far, his tenure's been a struggle. Results have been poor. The squad looks uncomfortable. Questions are mounting, and he seems to be unravelling in press conferences, with a lot of people asking if this is the man that's going to lead United long term. But let's start with his tactical vision and maybe why the current United squad doesn't fit it. At Sporting, Amorim achieved a lot of success, including a title win in 2021 with this flexible, it was, 3-4-3 formation. It emphasised high pressing, fast transitions, attacking wing-backs, and his team were known for intensive counter-pressing and fluid attacking shape. In possession, it's very much a 3-2-5 with the wing-backs pushing on, occupying all of the vertical zones of the pitch and really putting the opposition under pressure. Amorim's system does not use a traditional number 10 or playmaker. Instead, the two sort of attacking central midfielders, it's two inside forwards that sort of tuck in alongside a striker. In behind, you've got a double pivot in midfield for stability. At Sporting, somebody like a Bruno Fernandes, who left just before Amorim took over, wouldn't have had a natural role. The creativity came from those wide forwards or the wing backs overlapping. Transplanting the 3-4-3 to United has proven challenging. The squad was built by previous managers. Jose Mourinho's fingerprints are on this. Solskjaer's fingerprints are on this. Ten Hag's fingerprints are all over this. All of those played a four at the back, even though Oli had a little bit of success at times playing off the back foot with a back 3/back 5. United simply lacked the profile of player to immediately have Amorim playing the 3-4-3. And we know that. They asked him to come when he wasn't comfortable coming, and we kind of said, look, mate, now or never. And he's gone, okay, let's do it now then. Bruno Fernandes has been forced deep. I actually think he's looked better deeper, but United are losing one of our most creative players when he's a little bit further back. He's still creating, but he's maybe not as creative as he could be deployed deeper than he would be as a 10. Amorim's formation doesn't really have a natural position for Bruno Fernandes, so he's going to be shoehorned in higher or deeper than he would naturally want to be. And deeper seems to be the preference that Amorim's going for at the moment. He's often building up alongside Ugarte. Occasionally it's been Casemiro. That nullifies a lot of his natural game. I think he's at his best when he's in between the lines, when he's allowed to play those risky killer passes. Those risky killer passes are quite harmful when it's your pivot that's doing it rather than someone that's in between the lines in space looking for it. Like I said, he's still being creative, but is the team suffering as a consequence of that? Another option could be to use him as one of those narrow forwards, one of the number 10s if you like, and we've seen that. We saw that early doors. He's drifting centrally anyway, but he's often no in-behind threat. In either case, the team has not found the right balance with one of our better players and certainly one of our more reliable players in Bruno. And you absolutely need your best players comfortable and fitted into a system. It certainly feels like Bruno is very much a square peg in the only options being round holes. The sight of him dropping back, whilst I think he's got the energy and the mentality to be able to fit in, I don't think he has the natural defensive tendencies to hold a position. He's almost like too hyper and too much wanting to be involved to hold the discipline of just being in a position. Additionally, you've got the lack of pressing forwards. Mason Mount might have been a good option for this, but he's injured. At Sporting, The strategy relied on a front three that had a real coordinated high press. They harried opposition defenders into mistakes. He had mobile forwards that would run themselves into the ground for him. Sarabia, Goncalves, obviously Gyökeres, all worked extremely hard off the ball. At United, no one's been able to execute that. Marcus Rashford has just not played for him. Whatever happened, I'm sure will come out eventually, but it wasn't fancied, and then completely bombed out of the squad. Rasmus Højlund looks a shell of himself. He isn't pressing, doesn't have the work rate. He certainly isn't doing it with the ball, isn't doing it off the ball. Xerxes just doesn't have the pace. Anthony obviously wasn't fancied. Garnacho still learning the defensive side of the game. As energetic as he is when United have got the ball, he's not really doing it when United don't have the ball. The one player that was Ahmad. He was winning the ball consistently and frequently and pressing high. But you can't press on your own. And even though he would press on his own and create chances or even score a chance from doing that, he's now out for the end of the season. And that's a massive, massive problem for Ruben Amorim. And then we've got the unsuited wing-backs. Now, one of the biggest problems that you've got when you've got a system that relies on wing-backs is you need wing-backs. The 3-4-3 requires two high-quality wing-backs. And we've seen Dalot and Mazraoui paired in there. Dalot just looks miles off the pace. And Mazraoui is far too defensively minded to play in that position. Players who can perform as defenders and wingers are needed. And we've basically been only able to play defenders in those positions until we signed Dorgu, and as yet there's not enough information or footage to really give a balanced opinion on him. United's existing fullbacks don't naturally fit. Luke Shaw used to be someone that I thought could do a real good job, especially in the back four, in that sort of wing back role, but his injuries mean that he's probably a left centre back or left side centre back in a free. He's never going to be a wing back in his life again. Certainly not got the ability to do it in this team. Dalot seemingly had a little bit more about him going forward with his crossing ability, but it's just not worked. And obviously, like I said, Dorgu, potential wing back solution, very attack minded, seems to want to get crosses in early doors. Amorim's first major signing, brought specifically for playing that left wing back spot, as it was obviously the priority that they identified in January. But he is raw and he's got to adapt to a new league, and relying on him alone is unfair, and it's also probably not likely to yield results for us. United still lack someone to play off the right hand side. We still lack at least one number 10 if you consider Ahmad to be in the other position, and we certainly lack a striker. So this imbalance has really hurt Amorim's tactics, and that's without talking about the pivot. 3-4-3 loses the width, it loses the creativity, and this team cannot score a goal to save its life. Because of these mismatches, performances on the pitch have suffered, which is putting it as lightly as I can. We have been the worst Manchester United side that I've been alive to witness, or at least since I've been match going since 1990. It's the worst one I've ever seen. It's certainly the worst Premier League one that we've ever seen. At the time of writing, United are in 14th. Depending when I upload this, we might be 16th. We're going to be in and around there regardless. We are a struggling side. We're getting humiliated by mid-table teams at home. We're getting frustrating draws against relegation candidates. We're getting outplayed by the likes of Everton. We look like a relegation threatened side, and that's not exaggerating. We literally look that good. The finishing has been woeful. Some of the stats pointing out United's shot accuracy and chance conversion are the worst in the division since Amorim took charge. And there's some real damning milestones. Amorim was the fastest United manager to ever lose 5 home games, hitting that mark within the first couple of months. Old Trafford should be a fortress. People come and leave with wins like it's not even a big deal anymore. Crystal Palace, Fulham. The home form is historically bad, and that heaps pressure on the manager. Going out of both domestic cups early doors. We were the FA Cup holders. We got beat up by Fulham, crashing out of the League Cup. The defeats not only ended trophy hopes, but also deepened the sense that this team just is not responding to what Amorim's doing. We're out of all domestic competitions, I'm recording this now when United play the first leg against Sociedad tonight. So I don't know how that game goes, but I don't fancy our chances against Sociedad. One of the few bright spots was Diallo. We got him back, we got him into the first team, and he seemed like he was thriving. He started the season well under Ten Hag, to be fair to him, but he wasn't getting played a lot. Under Amorim, he was comfortably the best player. Whether he was played as a right wing back or whether he was played in that sort of right side number 10, he was scoring and he was assisting and he was involved in something like 50% of United's goals up until the point he was injured, which is a remarkable stat for one individual. He gets a season-ending injury and it basically ended United's seasons, not just his. With him out, United lose your only in-form attacker, and it also exposes just how the rest of them are underperforming. Garnacho and Højlund, without hammering them any more than I have done over the last couple of weeks, have been woeful. Rashford departs, Antony departs. Such an over-reliance on a youngster like Ahmad just shows the complete and utter dysfunction in the squad that he was left with. And I don't think it's been entirely his decision who's come and gone. But those are factors that put him under scrutiny. Because ultimately, it's a results business. And the results under this manager are not good enough. You know, you're starting to see pundits, even some of the former players are starting questioning him. Rooney's been calling some of his decisions and approaches naive. Amorim's obviously hitting back against some of those in his press conferences, but I think that's indicative of the pressure that he's feeling. The media starting to speculate if he's going to be the next manager sacked if results don't improve. Personally, I think Ineos have to stick with him. He's their guy. You know, they have to stick with him. They have to back him, even though I don't believe they will in the summer window, and they have to give him more time. You can't spend 21 million on hiring him and sacking Ten Hag and then getting rid of him so quickly. Like, that really undermines what Ineos have been trying to do. Now, is Amorim the right guy long term? Is he the right guy short term? That's a big question. I think sacking him now would mean another cultural reset, and I don't know if United can do that. You've churned through so many managers post Sir Alex. Every single time there's an excitement about a project, it usually leads to an expensive squad turnover. And as we looked at in the last episode, I don't think you can do that. Now, the case for keeping Amorim is, despite a poor start, he is a coach that's got a vision, and he's a coach that's got a proven track record of not only winning things, but doing so with a very unique style and playing youngsters. But those things take time to implement. I think Sporting was an easier ship to turn around than Manchester United were or are. And you've got to look at some of the issues in the squad. Lisandro Martinez being injured, Ahmad being injured, the offloads of Antony and Rashford. A lot of stuff is not his fault. He has shown some flexibility at times. There needs to be some more flexibility. He also had a bit of a rocky patch before things clicked at Sporting. So there is a track record that it is rough before you start going on, you know, big, long, unbeaten runs and winning leagues. His methods might start to bear fruit if he gets the proper players. The likes of Dorgu being some of the brightest sparks in the games he's played points to that it could be the case. But more than that, who do you replace him with? His CV, Ten Hag's CV, they suggested that they were the men that was going to come in and do this job. And a constant hiring and firing just leaves scar tissue all over the place. No philosophy gets to take root if it's given 18 months. It just doesn't happen like that. It takes a long time. Sir Alex Ferguson, the greatest that ever did it, took 7 years to win a title. Why do we expect anybody else to do it faster than that? Sticking with him, United could show that they're finally willing to build something. Again, Arsenal were very patient with some very mediocre seasons with Arteta before they started to become a contender. And whether or not they finally get over the line or not, it's irrelevant. It took a long time. When you've got a man known for developing youth and playing bold football, traits that United are supposed to admire and want to play with time and a tweaked squad, he still could be the man that leads United to a brighter future. But I do try and offer balance. On the other hand, United can't accept drifting not only into the bottom half, but the bottom quarter of the league. If United start flirting with relegation, the club's stature, expectations, and finances can't really take United being in a relegation battle. He's going to have to find a way to get some results, or he might face a chop. If the board loses faith, if the squad loses faith that this is the guy that can turn it around, some might argue the lack of Premier League experience, his youthful exuberance or naivety, as Wayne Rooney put it, could be costly. He's learning on the job in the worst place to do so, in the worst environment that this club has had, certainly in my lifetime. The players might be unconvinced by his approach. He's lost sections of the dressing room. I think it's safe to say, looking at some of the comments from him, he's certainly lost some sections of the crowd. That might be hard to recover. I don't even think you can call it whispers anymore. I think some senior players are telling people that the tactics don't suit them. You get these leaks with every manager that United have had. They don't like his training methods. They don't like his playing. My response to that would be, yeah, well, we don't like how you're fucking playing on the pitch, lads. So how about shut the fuck up and do what the guy's telling you to do? Because you complained about every fucking manager we've had. Another factor that could be looming is other managers in the market. If an elite proven coach becomes available, let's say, I don't know, Zinedine Zidane suddenly started learning English and house hunting in Cheshire, could United's board be tempted to pivot into somebody else? Would he be someone that would come and build a legacy at the club? It feels like Amorim would be more suited to that. But we saw how quickly they got rid of Dan Ashworth. If anything, the willingness to not let wrong decisions fester could be a bad warning sign for Ruben Amorim if he's unable to turn it around. Now, I think the middle ground here is that the club appears to be giving Amorim at least this season for sure, and probably next season to improve things, especially as they allowed him to reshape the squad before he wanted to come in. Imagine sacking him before he even wanted to take charge. That's the mental in it. The hope is that he obviously adapts and starts finding a way to win in the Premier League, and doing so whilst also implementing the long-term philosophy and changes that he wants to see. Can he adapt? Well, the first thing he's going to have to do is be a bit more pragmatic. Now, he might need to begin bending some of his systems and philosophies and setting the team up in a way that aligns more to what the squad is capable of doing. Because at some point, he's going to have to get wins. You don't just get to say, well, I haven't got my ideal squad. Because I don't know if an ideal squad ever exists. I don't know if an ideal squad is ever going to be given to him. At some point, mate, you're going to have to find a way that aligns with you as a coach and aligns with the players that you've got at your disposal. Could a 4-2-3-1 with Bruno Fernandes in the 10 make United more comfortable? Does that shape suit the players that we've got at the club a little bit more? Does it make us a bit more tactically sound? Could he still keep some of his principles, pressing, playing out from the back, rapid transitions, flooding people forward, but simplify some of the roles so the lads can actually understand it? Because if they can't understand it, they can't implement it. You know, do you let Bruno off the leash and allow him to play in between the lines? You put Garnacho on the left touchline where he seems like he's happiest, rather than have him supposedly playing in the half space, but he drifts out there anyway. Do you sacrifice the long-term plan for getting your philosophies and a bit of confidence and momentum? Does that solidify the defence? You know, an issue that we're seeing at the moment is a leaky defence. Is it players adjusting to the back three? Is it players getting caught out? Is it wing-backs that don't quite understand if they're a full-back or a wing-back and are supposed to go to him? Or, you know, is Justin behind me the centre-half job, or is it my job? Like, if they don't fully understand their role, the speed at which the Premier League is played at can be a real problem. Could grinding out a few clean sheets and scrappy 1-0 wins change the mood? Sporting's Amorim side were defensively solid, and they had one of the best defensive records in Portugal, so he does know how to organise a backline. Does he maybe just need to be a little bit less adventurous until the summer, when some of his players that can implement his philosophy and get a pre-season with them arrive? Thirdly, I think you've got to manage the squad wisely. It's refreshing, and it was refreshing when Ollie did it, and it was refreshing when Jose did it, and most of us sort of understood what Ralph Rangnick was trying to say when he was saying we needed open heart surgery. And Erik ten Hag started the tenure by being this disciplinarian that wanted things his way or the highway. And when you implement all of that sort of stuff, It's what the fans want to hear. But can you actually do that? Can we see more minutes of some of these youngsters? We're going away to sport. And like I said, it's tonight. I don't know how that's going to shake out. But when I see benches that haven't even been filled, you could take some youngsters for the experience. Or are you saying that these youngsters are just not good enough and we're never going to play them anyway? Youngsters and fringe players come on with a point to prove, and they might surprise you. The ones that we've seen so far, Cheeto's introduction, Heaven's introduction, these players look like they're ready. They certainly, Cheeto especially, put in a better shift than Højlund did. He's also got to keep the squad united. Communicate hard times are part of the process. It sounds like he's already told the ones that are going that they're going. And if they've down tools, you obviously can't play them. Good man management might stop a bit of the rot. It might avoid a complete collapse of morale. We saw this with Ralf Rangnick. Ralf came in, the lads just went. I don't doubt how good Ralf is, and I don't doubt how good Amorim is. But when they've been told, you're not fucking doing enough and blah, 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 and blah, 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 some of them went, fuck you, mate. Do what I want. And that's a problem. And I think you've got to lean into Dorgu. Obviously, you're going to play him when you can. He's suspended domestically, but he provides a bit more width and a bit more energy. You've got to lean into him a little bit. There's obviously going to be stopgaps. Any tactical tweak that coaches a better performance in the short term is probably going to be worth a try, though. To wrap up, I think his struggles are a mix of the squad being a tactical mismatch for what he wants, injuries, and just downright underperformance. There's certain players in the squad that are just not fucking filling the boots that they've got. Short term, he's got to be flexible. I don't want him to be dogmatic about his formation and his philosophies. You've got to find a way to win. And I think that's the only thing you can do. Find a way to win. Find a way to stabilise results. Even if the football gets ugly for a while, we can't finish the season in 14th, 15th or 16th. If he survives, the clubs have got to bring in the players that suit what he's trying to implement. And obviously that segues into the next crucial section that I'm going to talk about. Who stays, who goes, and who comes in. And I've got names for positions. Fixing United requires not just changing the manager's approach, but a ruthless overhaul of the playing staff and succession planning. Because if we're going to win the league in 10 years, a lot of these players will not be here. So there's a little bit of crystal ball going on as well. That's part 2. Join me in the next episode for part 3 when we look at the playing side and fixing the squad. Let me know if you're enjoying this little series so far. I'll see you in the next one. Laters. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.